Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points in filmmaking. And tonight, it's our third installment of the Just Giggle It Grab Bag. That's right, folks. We'll be taking a look at some of the early sketches and comedy stylings that made Harley Quinn and the Joker versus the real world possible. Dragon, would you like to tell the good folks at home a little bit about said Harley Quinn and the Joker project?
Sure, to keep it simple, folks, what brought us to Just Giggle in the first place was this wonderful web series, Harley Quinn the Joker versus the real world. Premise is quite simple. Joker and Harley Quinn, they have moved from Gotham to LA. Why? No idea. How do we find out? Here's how. Watch episode 5. Episode 5, honestly, is kind of our favorite. It's kind of stewing on after a while because we've had time to ruminate and rewatch the series.
Oh, Danny boy.
Yes, honestly, it's probably quite possibly our favorite of them so far. But the point is, you really can't miss any of the episodes of Harley Quinn the Joker versus the real world. And here's the thing, folks: check out episode 5 because one, why wouldn't you? Secondly, it's really good, and thirdly, we need people to check that out so we can get more amazing episodes of Harley Quinn the Joker versus the real world. Just Giggle It. These guys know comedy, they know faithfulness, they know faithfulness to IP and source material. Like these guys are like kind of some kings of parody. It's very much what they are. These guys know how to parody something, and in this case, they know how to kind of homage and pay tribute to characters so expertly well. And again, like this, folks, is not just like a comedy of like, hey, there's like a web series with someone dressed as the Joker and Harley Quinn. Oh boy, they're roommates with the girl named Addison in L.A. Shenanigans. It's not just that, not at all. It's a show where okay, you take the actual kind of an embodiment of all Jokers and Harley Quinns, and we just see the characters that again, like to their core. Again, the best comment you can pay the show is these characters are those characters off the page or off the screen and kind of in their best forms. It's an amalgamation of all the best memories you have of these characters in this hilarious situation, and again, there's a story going on there which you don't want to miss out on, folks. So again, watch episode 5. Even just look, honestly, if you're a true Just Giggle It fan, just for the heck of it, just us bring it up again, you're going to be reminded, hey, Harley Quinn Joker is a good show. I'm going to re-binge this to kind of keep the hype train going. I'm going to watch it from episode 1 to 5. For anyone there is, check out 5, then go back, watch them all again, and just send it to your friends, send it to your family, send it to strangers on the street to say, have you seen Just Giggle It today? I'll point you in the direction of episode 5, Harley Quinn Joker versus the real world. We get the views up to 1 million, and we will get new episodes of Harley Quinn Joker versus the real world, no doubt in your mind. So,
all right.
We have a link in the description for you folks to check out, and also links in the previous Just Giggle It grab bags. You'll be able to find Harley Quinn Joker versus the real world episode 5, the series, the channel, etc., and you guys are definitely going to want to check this out.
Okay, thank you, Dragon. Thank you. So, folks, with the Just Giggle It grab bag, of course, these fine folks over at Just Giggle It, they have a whole back catalog of sketch comedy stylings for our viewing pleasure. And the thing of it is, they are really good at setup and payoff, and we like to examine this as kind of like the art of comedy, if you will. We really like to examine like what goes into the jokes, what goes into what sets up a punchline. We're really into that kind of like breaking down of comedy. So that's the sort of podcast you're getting yourself into with this. So go ahead and click the links in the description, watch the episodes. It'll literally take you 5 minutes to watch both of the things we're talking about. As all Just Giggle It grab bags are going to be for the foreseeable future, we're talking about one original short and then one parody short. So tonight our first installment is going to be Jackie. And then later on, in honor of the season 8 finale of The Walking Dead, we will be taking a look at previously on The Walking Dead. All right. So, Dragon, you've seen more of The Walking Dead, and it's in the second half of season 8 than I have.
Technically, yes.
Technically, yes. Technically, yes.
Technically.
All right. Anyways, Dragon, let's start off with Jackie, which I gotta tell you, man, this one's pretty fantastic.
Yes, okay, so let's get into this too, because we don't really have a lot of background. We just kind of really have the layman's perspective on the growth of Just Giggle. Kind of inferring a lot of kind of the history of Just Giggle It, but the rudimentary history, I did determine this. So this is the third installment, the third episode, the third sketch, more accurately, that Just Giggle It produced. And this was directed by Mal Smith, who directed One Night Stand, it was very well shot. And by the way, Mal Smith actually appears in this episode, and I found out again. I was embarrassed because I thought Mal stood for Malcolm, and Mal's actually she's the young woman who plays Natalie later on in this.
Oh, okay, okay.
At least that's according to the credits. I'm putting that together, and I believe I think I looked into that also. So yeah, I saw a real fitting description of Natalie. So it's anyway. The point is, Mal Smith did another excellent job in directing this episode, and this episode, of course, is written by Joshua Thomas. Joshua Thomas, man, wears many hats. Editing, directing, writing. The guy just he likes to be involved. So, Jackie, my God, yeah, this is we kind of aimed for this week. We by all means, folks, again, something will also be in the comments in the little description box. Folks, if you leave what you want to see in the comments, we will absolutely do those in the foreseeable grab bag future. We absolutely will, because we love the people who watch us. We love the sport Just Giggle in any way, whether it's Just Giggle or the folks out there who are fans of Just Giggle or just folks happening upon there says, man, I'm just going to check out what Just Giggle has and just kind of roll the dice and see what these guys want to talk about next. We're down for that. Again, we're just going to work like a pairing of again, sketch and then parody. And if we run out of parodies, it'll just be sketch and like other kind of parody-esque sketch and so on and so forth. The point is, so yeah, we encourage anyone we kind of went with some short pairings, this week. So in the foreseeable future, I'm sure we have like a little more lengthy videos to go into. But boy, oh boy, Jackie, it's short, sweet, to the point, and my God.
Okay, here's the thing about Jackie Dragon. It took me so long to take notes for this because it's only 2 minutes long, but the dialogue just flies so fast, and all of it is dialogue I wanted to get.
I love that we have yet a different form of comedy, and I'm trying to think if we've consistently gotten a different form of comedy each time we've done a grab bag here, because I know we've gotten something different each installment. Something that's been this is very dialogue driven comedy. I really love that. I'll get into some specific sightings of why.
Pretty Flowers, I feel, is like character driven comedy, and then let's see, remind me the other one we did on the first grab bag.
Okay, Pokemon.
Oh, Pokemon, of course. Pokemon is just general parody,
right?
And then let's see, and then we did One Night Stand, which was kind of like I would say One Night Stand was kind of like a horror spoof.
Essentially, yes.
And then
Space Jam.
Space Jam with Hitler was, I mean, just
a remake. It was a remake
itself.
Yeah. So yeah, and
I mean, I think the closest we have is that The Walking Dead is probably like a straight up parody in the same way Pokemon is a straight up parody, but
that's true. However, if you want to delineate it, just to keep the theme going here for a while, Pokemon is a continuation of a parody. Okay, it's Ash years later, so it's a continuation of a parody, and Walking Dead, as we're going to find, is technically it's a recap. I'm going to get into that. Technically, it's a recap. Right? But so regardless, we're still kind of differentiating our parodies. So it's again shot for shot remake, and then again we're still getting so far. In our first 3 inaugural episodes here, we've gotten a different flavoring per sketch. So that's pretty impressive. And again, this one's very dialogue driven. I love good dialogue driven comedy, and we'll get into that as we go through here. So again, this is another fun fact, real quick. Last little bit of background I have, I guess, is that as we start getting into it, this is so early in Just Giggle It's illustrious career of being genius as a comedy. This is before the Just Giggle It search engine look. I mean, it's still being typed in, but it's before they have kind of the winning image of like I love this kind of this robot chicken. So I was trying to make chicken into like plural of some variety, like a robot chicken-esque idea of like, okay, well, instead of like just a robotic chicken watching television, that's how, or framing device, in this case, like, okay, you type something into this comedy search engine, it'll take you to a funny video of anything you type in there, which is genius, by the way. And again, I don't know if that was the initial concept from the very beginning, and then when they got the decal, they changed it. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just they upgraded the production value, same concept. Maybe that can be clarified. I don't know, but I just it's kind of fun to see how they've grown. Like, oh, look at that. They start off in such humble beginnings, just typing it in. Oh, aren't they cute? And now look at them.
All right, all right.
All right, so let's just dive right into it.
Sure, sure. So we start with two coworkers. Let's see, their
Three.
names are Jeff and Greg.
Yes, we have Jeff, Greg, and Jackie.
And Jackie. Jackie.
So they're in office. They're in the office kitchen, which, as we can clearly tell, is a home or an apartment of some variety.
Well, that's going to just be a running thing with JustGiggleIt in the early days. Let's not pick on them for it.
Oh, no, I'm not picking. I just want to, again, I'm just like highlight how they've grown.
Right, right.
Okay, let's see. Oh no, this cracked me up on the. It was funny on the first watch, but I really sunk in how brilliant this was, and also our comedy players this episode. Of course, we have Joshua Thomas, we have Piper Henson in a brief role, and we have Mark Sipka. Mark Sipka is the he had the Al Pacino quote for Joshua Thomas. Another Joshua Thomas grand slam. That guy. He was also he was the narrator in the Pokemon parody. Tiki, that's Mark.
Okay.
That's this guy. Yeah, now you got a face to put to the. Oh, and he's in one of my favorite of the Just Giggle It videos. We're gonna get to down the line. We'll get to him later. So those are our three kind of our players here. The three coworkers and Sipka. He has this great gag where he's like they're telling a joke where Greg and Jeff are kind of in the middle of a joke, and I believe Jeff says "Adios, muchachos," and then
you're speaking Spanish.
So I just love just commenting on. It's like commenting on the punchline gag. It's just addressing the absurdity of like, yes, you're saying funny things. It's like I don't know. It's not a sophisticated joke. It's like it's one you sell in delivery, just like owning the absurdity of that line, just saying, yeah, this is going to get really ridiculous and silly, but we're kind of addressing that broadly out the gate, so you get sucked into it as it goes on. All right, so Jackie, what's Jackie doing?
She's kind of bragging, saying like, "You both owe me dinner because our boss loved our presentation."
Yeah, so it's a victory. It's a victory coffee break for our three employees here. And like the rest of them, basically, as Jackie leaves, there's a moment of pause that goes by. I love the pause here, and there's a pause at the end. I love how full circle this all is. We'll hit on that more towards the end here. But the full circle quality of all this is just very, very clever. And basically, the genesis of this situation is like the rest of America. Our two guys here, Jeff and Greg, they fall in love with Piper Henson. Like the rest
I love
of
how Piper Henson has a small but very pivotal role in the episode.
Yeah, that's great. So Jeff and Greg, they begin to like kind of like, oh, Tiki, have Jeff's line.
Oh, Jackie is the glue that holds this place together.
I gotta tell you, the Jackie love did remind me of something recent in Gotham with the Ivy love with the place.
Oh my god!
Right?
Okay, just giggle it, guys. If you watch Gotham, you know what I'm talking about. The whole like, Ivy's cool. Ivy's just the greatest. And my personal favorite Gotham, Harper's. Hey, boss. Boys and I have been talking, and we don't like what you've been saying about Ivy.
Oh, just love that there was like a committee off screen talking.
All right, Gotham.
Okay, sorry. That's really funny. Okay, I was going like dabbing the sweat from the laughter. Okay. Anyway, yes. Okay, so the two begin to declare their love for Jackie very intensely, and I love the as they start that off there. You know, there's a coffee sip, and I love. As we're going to hit, there are really great subtle beats that are hit throughout this. So it's not just like it's not a repeated back and forth. While it is very pivotal to this, the back and forth, and we'll get into how clever the back and forth is, but The back and forth always with these little kind of micro bits to accentuate the comedy and to up the ante, because upping the ante is the crux, is the spine of the comedy in this sketch. Upping the ante is a huge deal in this. And
Oh
like that
yeah.
little coffee sip, like that pause in that coffee sip of like, yeah, there's something you and I we're gonna hash this like in the old west. We're gonna hash this out in words instead of gunfire. So then a chess match of raising the comedy bar transpires, and we tap into the Just Giggle It philosophy here. Just Giggle It's kind of dial it to 11 with the absurdity, or like in a darker direction. In this case, we absolutely go with the absurdity, and it's great. So here's my thesis statement for this whole thing. To you, what I love about this episode, what I love about the comedy in this episode, the big comparison I have with the comedy for this sketch, it's very Adam McKay, a dialogue centric comedy. Adam McKay, of course, people probably know his works best, like Anchorman 2,
Sure,
and
sure. Yeah, I could see that.
and for me, my favorite Adam McKay work. This reminded me of very much so, because it's in an office setting, guys in ties. It's like The Other Guys. I love The Other Guys so much, and this reminded me so much of one of my favorite scenes from The Other Guys. Not the Michael Keaton, he's dying. That cracks me up. But other than that, it's the scene from The Other Guys. It's the tuna versus the lion speech, where basically Will Ferrell kind of rants to Mark Wahlberg. He's a very grumpy, angry guy throughout the movie. He's the grumpy partner. And Will Ferrell, what he's doing, he's the very as seemingly at the beginning, he's very civilized, uptight. He's a very happy-go-lucky guy. He's a nice partner,
Mm-hmm.
and he's basically Mark Wahlberg just letting them have it. He's just insulting them every which way in turn. Is Mark Harmon? That's right, not Mark Harmon. I'm thinking of all this NCIS buzz that's going on today. Anyway, Mark Wahlberg. He's angry. He's letting them have it. And he basically he uses a lot of animal analogies, and he basically compares himself to a lion, and then he calls himself a lion. He calls Will Ferrell's character Tuna, and then Will Ferrell, what he does is he goes in like a really extended hysterical rant about how the meek tuna could actually defeat the lion, and like, why would you pick a lion of all things? Seriously, a lion? Lions can't swim. They can't go in that water, and those tuna will develop. They will gang up on that lion, and they'll develop a taste for lion, and they'll feed. It goes on and on. It's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So
No, it sounds very much in the same vein. Yeah.
exactly. I love that sort of comedy, man. And then we do that here. Basically, we keep, the crux before we break down the hilarious lines you're going to get from these guys. It's a back and forth of upping the ante of the absurdity. It kind of dials us like each click to 11 as it goes forward. So let's see. So it starts. We start as an explanation of the love for Jackie, as in the very no, like you're mistaken. No, I actually I love you.
No, I want to date Jackie. No. I mean, I'm in love with Jackie.
I mean, both Josh Thomas and Mark Sipka are fantastic here, and I think what it boils down to, I think Joshua Thomas has the more. I think Sipka he kind of is more dedicated. I mean, they're both very dedicated to the bit here, but I feel that Thomas is more organized. Like Jeff is more, he's thought this out in advance. Where Greg is just in the moment, like expressing passion. So it's kind of passion versus kind of dedicated.
Right.
That's the thing. It feels almost kind of like I got to. No, I'm thinking I'll save that for another installment when we get to Just Giggle. I was thinking of some little side project with Just Giggle anyway. So, okay, little surprise for down the road. Anyway. So she wants. I want to marry Jackie. I want to. This is what Thomas says here. No, I want to marry Jackie too. Constantly go to sleep and have dreams about marrying Jackie. And again, the simple key is just to go. The simple key to all this and the dialogue and the writing is just get more detailed and up the ante. That's the main direction throughout this whole thing. Just get more detailed in the description. I gotta wonder, I really wonder how much of this is improvised versus how much of this is written. It'd be super impressive if this was all improvised.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the good folks at Just Giggle It would be able to answer that in the chat if they wouldn't mind.
Well, they are wonderful people. I know they are wonderful people. I'm sure they'd love to give us an answer on that.
All right, so then we get into one of my favorites, which is kind of the whole thing that escalates into the naming the children bit.
Oh yeah, we keep, again, we're rising the intensity of the scene, just this two-person scene, which is astounding. And what they're doing with this back and forth, they're feeding their energy into each other, fueling the back and forth, and why it's getting more and more intense. And I'm sure there's an editing trick going on here that I'm not fully picking up like how exactly it was done. But I mean, later on, there's this one shot I got to really shout out for the editing, but everything else, like, you feel the editing in there, despite just being a two-person scene, and it kind of explodes this battle of words and love to the death. That's really what it feels like. It's a battle of words and love to the death. That's really what this. So yes, as things said, it escalates to.
Can I do it? Can I do it?
Oh, sure, go do it.
I'm gonna have 2 kids. Oh yeah? Well, I'm gonna have 3 kids. 3 of them, and one of them is going to be. I'm not going to name my son Jeff. No, he's going to be named Jack in honor of his glorious mother, Jackie.
What I love too, and again, this one time I love the other little micro gags we have here is, he's extending his fingers. I also love the staging here. Yeah, so he holds 3 fingers up, for like 3 kids, and two girls, and then he has the middle finger for the one boy. Middle finger to his opposition here. So again, we're doing a lot of great subtle comedy along with the. Again, along with our kind of our main driving force. And I love that because they dedicated to the intense back and forth. It's a gag that, again, you think, okay, it's very visual, very broad. You can easily sniff it out. You get so wrapped up in it, you get a sense that maybe you wouldn't pick up on that for a moment.
Then I have the other one word for word, Dragon, if you don't mind.
Sure, let me just little glorious mother, Jackie. Yeah, hit him with it.
All right, so then Greg's response is, I want to marry Jackie, grow old together, and then separate in a messy divorce, and then remarry a second terrible wife, just so I can remind myself of how much I love Jackie right now.
I gotta tell you, part of me wonders if I'm just saying the intensity of these guys, with their Jack love, kind of reminds us of our Vera Farmiga love. I gotta be honest, it's just kind of occurring to me in the moment here. Anyway. Little fun observation just going through it here. Like, oh my god, it is kind of us with Farmiga. So, let's see. Yes, after the growing old. Oh yes, the mug slam. We get the defiant mug slam. Just so we have this defiant mug slam, and then here's the editing. I think the editing, the edit is right here. Where basically we do this motion thing. Where basically we're adding like little bits of motion to the dialogue, which is going to build to this really sweet edit coming up. So we have the freezing. You want to go through the freezing, or should I?
I don't have it written down word for word.
Sure, no problem. Essentially, it's I believe Jeff. Jeff says, "I'm going to cryogenically freeze myself and Jackie until they can clone Jackie and clone Jackie 4 times." So I can. Here's where it gets great. And this is what cracks me up. My favorite lines in this scene too, by the way. So I'm gonna clone Jackie 4 times, convert to being a Mormon, and marry. And here's the line: all 5 Mormon Jackie brides. That's my favorite line in this whole thing. All 5 Mormon Jackie brides.
Oh my god!
So and again, we're kind of amping up the motion with the mug here again. So now Greg, he slams down his mug and he takes a step closer, and it's like in a swift motion where, again, like him putting down the mug is like, it's like kind of like follow the hand while the other hand's doing something else here. Where again, he puts down the mug, and what they're doing here is now he's taking a step closer, so they're more in each other's faces, kind of getting more and more intense. So then
he gives a very definitive statement. He says, I'm going to marry Jackie, grow old together, and die.
Well, here we go. Here's the edit. So Jeff has this moment of pause goes by as, again, like, the woman of our affection, you're saying you want her to die, and there's like this moment of he's taking it in. It's like it's kind of like, have we reached the ceiling on this gag? Can we go any further? It's like his eyes are shifting, just kind of he's reeled back from this, and then here's the edit. I love it. It's like I guess it's barely, I don't know how it just, this moment is so perfect it feels like an edit if it's not an edit. Where what they do is he speeds up here because it's Jeff he's taken aback, and then we somehow speed him up through an edit or some technique. Jeff is like, he zooms back into he zooms back into the conversation as he gets back into it as Greg continues his thought here, because it was just a dramatic pause, and the music stopped at that moment, and the music is coming back on, and it's like, oh my god, it's then.
And he goes into this really elaborate tangent about like reincarnated birds finding each other again and
looking for Jackie in her bird form, and then they'll go wing in wing, like holding hand in hand.
Oh my god!
Wing, and fly into the sunset for a bird wedding. And then I love this because that is so sickeningly sweet. Just say, "You son of a."
I mean, that you can't top that. You really can't.
So here's the thing. Seriously, so he's like, "You son of a." And then we have what I call a Mark. It's not a Joshua Thomas grand slam. It's a Mark Sipka moment here. This feels so Mark Sipka, because Mark Sipka, he does a lot of great kind of sound effects comedy. Again, one of my favorite Just Giggle videos we'll be tackling. He does this, and what he does here is like, he just kind of barks at him like a dog practically in the scene. When in doubt for a joke, he's just gonna have like almost like a police academy sound effect at the ready. He'll have some random non sequitur that's just gonna be out of left field.
What it is. That's totally what it is.
It'll be out of left field, but it'll be just right. It'll be like, when in doubt, call in Mark Sipka. He's like I guess the Pixar equivalent would be, he's if Joshua Thomas is Brad Burr, then Mark Sipka is Mark Andrews to Joshua Thomas's Brad Burr. He's one of his main guys. One of his, like, when in doubt, call Andrews.
All right.
Okay, so then what happens, Steve?
So then Natalie comes in, and she picked up donuts because she heard about how great Jackie's presentation went.
I love, again, the visual kind of going on here is just like, oh boys, and they clam up.
It's like the visual of them holding the giant box of donuts.
Oh, it's perfect. She brought them donuts, and I just got to remark, that is really nice of Natalie to bring that box of donuts there, man.
It's nice. A big box of donuts.
I will nitpick though. A lot of glazed. Just, it's a lot of glazed.
Yeah, a lot of glazed.
A lot of glazed, one chocolate. You mean to tell me there's no strawberry frosted?
Dragon, you're big on your strawberry frosting. I've never been a strawberry frosting guy.
I love it. No sprinkles. Screw that sprinkle crap. I want straight strawberry iced donut. Anyway.
All right.
Those are sprinkles or BS. Okay, sprinkles are cheap.
Oh man.
I know, you think, the sprinkles look adorable, they look so nice, but you know what? It's an uncomfortable, when you bite into the... Anyway,
I like the consistency of sprinkles.
I'm just saying, here's the thing.
It adds like a crunch to the donut.
That's true, but at the same time, sometimes you get stale sprinkles, and it's just going to be like, oh man, it's like, I can't even bite into this thing, it's the sprinkle isn't crumbling like it's supposed to. It's just.
And you're not worried about stale donuts more than you're worried about stale sprinkles.
I'm saying they're gonna try not to serve the stale donuts, but they're gonna keep the sprinkles so they don't have to make more.
All right. Well, I'm sure the good folks at JustGiggleIt just love hearing our donut conversation.
Okay, well, let's bring it all back here. They did not have sprinkles in their donuts, so props to them. So. Look, I'm not saying you can't have sprinkles ever. I'm just saying.
All right, it's fine. It's fine.
If given the choice, I would opt for no sprinkles. Anyway, so then I have this great bit of like, thanks.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. I like sprinkles on cake donuts. I would prefer them not to be on the raised donuts.
All right.
Anyways.
Okay, so then we have this wonderful bit, just this wonderful delivery, and I love where this goes. I love the full circle quality it's about to transfer. Like, thanks, Natalie, and again, it's a really nice gesture from Natalie. And again, our fearless director, I'm pretty sure of here, by the way, Mal Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's pronounced Mal Smith. I just inferred, Mal. I don't know. I'm thinking of Inception with that, but it's kind of an A instead. Anyway. Okay, so then we have this perfect moment of pause that brings everything full circle, and I love Tiki. This is just, this is something new we've gotten with Just Giggle, but I mean, it fits into them just kind of doing that subversion of expectation, but at the same time, you're there playing into the expectation, kind of going against the grain on that, where you know exactly where this is going, but it's respecting the audience enough to, like, this pause. What happens in this pause is, like, the first pause is like, okay, the comedy's about to begin. In this case, the pause is not only just the comedy's about to begin, but it's like, you, the perceptive audience, will see the joke is about to fall into place. You know exactly what's about to happen, and we're gonna go full circle within the perfect way that's gonna undercut all the Jackie love, and just show you how you could read it as like a commentary on men of like just like, oh, it's the next girl in line, it's like you get your heart set and it's the next girl who shows you kindness. But I mean, regardless, just it's that beautiful just absurdity of like they were so wrapped up all this Jackie love, and then Joshua Thomas brings it home as Jeff here with that line.
Natalie's the glue that holds this place together.
It's just a callback with a line that paints a portrait of comedy. That's the best way of putting it. It's the line that paints the portrait of this comedy for the audience. If the audience does not need to see what follows this, we don't need to do the whole thing over again. It's respecting that the audience got the joke. They're going to know exactly what follows, and it's just like showing these guys are smart to know their audience. Top marks, Jessica. Top marks.
All right. So now let's get into your favorite TV show of all time, Dragon, The Walking Dead.
Yeah, so it's just facetiousness aside. Come on, I'm not a Walking Dead guy at all.
And I used to be a Walking Dead guy until. Okay, I'm just going to point out my Walking Dead.
I couldn't get him to shut up about The Walking Dead, folks. I just want to say
that. Okay, well, like I said, I wanted to do it. I wanted to do this Walking Dead because season 8 just ended, and even though I'm not watching the show anymore, it's a nice tie-in, yay, synergy. But so Dragon, I loved Walking Dead through the first 5 seasons of the show. The first 5 seasons of Walking Dead are, I'm not going to say it's some of the best TV I've ever seen because that'd just straight up be not true. But having been a big fan of the comics, it was just a wonderful adaptation, Dragon. It was like one of the things I love about The Walking Dead is that it wasn't afraid to subvert from the comic book while still keeping the same spirit of the comic book. And it wasn't afraid to do classic scenes, but do them in different ways. Like, having different characters suffer the same iconic deaths. You know what I mean? Like switching stuff around like that. And I really, really love that the TV Walking Dead was essentially an alternate universe version of the comic book Walking Dead. And then, let's just say, Dragon, a lot of crap happened in season 6 that I don't want to bore you with. Basically, a shark jump moment happened involving a dumpster. Anyone who watches The Walking Dead knows what I'm talking about. And then, let's just say Negan's, Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan just wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And so that kind of left me leaving the show after about 4 episodes of season 8. Season 7 was kind of a painful watch, and season 8 I could just kind of care less. So I'm done with the show. I'm over it. I've not kept up with it. I don't intend to keep up with it unless I hear that season 9 is like a grand slam, Dragon. Unless I hear that season 9 is like, oh my god, they knocked it out of the park. You got to get caught up. Unless I hear that, I'm done with The Walking Dead. But I can say for those first 5 seasons, even though there were the occasional episode that would be slow and drag things down, and yeah, the farm plot in season 2 was a little slow, those first 5 seasons were just really, really solid TV, and especially really interesting adaptation material. All right, so Dragon, let me set the stage for what's going on here. Because
real quick.
Yeah.
Let's set up the writer and director.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Brian Wiley wrote and directed this, which again is, I believe, a first for us, where Joshua Thomas has not been involved in the writing process.
Mm-hmm. Joshua Thomas also takes a supporting role here.
He does, and I believe this is the 16th episode of from 16th sketch from JustGiggleIt, I believe. Well, parody sketch. And my intimation, I wonder if it could be kind of like kind of confirmed in the comments or not. Perhaps by the makers. I'm imagining the reason for that is maybe Joshua Thomas or maybe Thomas and Poncio. They're not fans of The Walking Dead, so this guy, I guess Brian Wiley probably had the idea of like, hey guys, I like The Walking Dead, or like say, you know what people like? People like The Walking Dead. Hey Brian, you watch that, don't you? Yeah. Why don't you do something on it? Okay. Again, I don't know if the conversation went
Honestly,
that.
I don't say this to be mean, but this episode, while it does have a few gags that I imagine were written by a Walking Dead fan, in general, this is a very surface level Walking Dead parody.
Let me ask you this, Tiki, again, because you're the expert on this. Again, early, again, predominantly, you're far more an expert than I. I'll say that much. Because essentially, folks, all I've seen of the Walking, I know between 5 and 8%
Hey,
of the
to be
Walking.
fair, Dragon, you've seen more of The Walking Dead season 8 part 2 than I have.
Okay, so two things. Okay, just on the whole, I know between 5 and 8% of the Walking Dead. Period. That's about all I know. I know like the very, very half the surface things about the Walking Dead. And aside from that, I've seen one scene from the recent season. I've seen like one scene that was just happening.
You shouldn't spoil what scene it is, but it was the last scene of season 8. You shouldn't spoil the goings on in case anyone hasn't seen it.
I don't know if it was like it wasn't like the last episode. Team, it was like weeks ago, but you know.
Oh, it was weeks ago. Okay, my bad, my bad.
Like again, before it's not even a spoiler scene. It's like there was a again, knowing that, just knowing that, okay, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is Negan is a big deal, you know, mean guy, you know sadistic guy, like, hey, everyone loves Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He plays this real bad guy. People love bad guys. And it's the fact he was always wondering, like, hey, is that it's always wondering if, oh boy, is Negan get his comeuppance this week? Just knowing kind of the buzz around that was just kind of happening.
Dragon, that's the problem. That's the problem is that it got so repetitious. It got so much like, all right, guys, look, I know what you're doing here, but it's just like it's taken so long to deal with this Negan situation, and the plot's going nowhere. I mean, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was great. He wasn't as iconic as he could have been, and I would probably say that the Governor is probably a stronger villain overall in The Walking Dead. Negan is definitely the stronger villain in the comics, but I would say TV Governor is probably stronger. Anyways.
Yeah, and basically, it was happening upon it while I was waiting for, I believe, Comic Book Men, or it's kind of like checking, like, you know, I had like AMC tuned in so I could watch Comic Book Men afterwards. And anyways, just kind of was like, he was doing other things, multitasking. It was on, practically playing on mute, if not like really low, was beside me while I was doing stuff. And it's basically like Negan was really getting into it with this one guy while they were doing like in this building, and there was like a foggy, basically kind of a dark, foggy building, and like a really decrepit building. And Negan he's kind of at the top of this staircase, this stairwell, and it's like a really closed-in space, like a stairwell, like kind of a bottomless pit stairwell behind him. It's like, oh boy, he's kind of hanging on the ledge of this thing. I guess I probably was kind of stirred up. Like, for a moment, I was a little interested. Like, boy, that Negan. Maybe this is, I don't know. It's really late into The Walking Dead. Maybe this is the big big one where they take him out. And no, I mean, you know, he falls into the pit. He doesn't like get. He doesn't get killed off. He just kind of falls into the pit. And of course, I'm imagining, yeah, there's no way he's dead. He just fell into it. Like, you know, fell into a pit. Probably escaped. And he's come on. They can't.
Right.
I don't even watch this. I don't buy it. Anyway, so I guess all that said, the point is, I know very little Walking Dead. Tiki's gonna be our kind of our guide here. And speaking of him being our guide, can you think you can pinpoint where this is in the Walking Dead's chronology? Tiki?
Oh, absolutely, I can. This is the season 1 or the season 4 finale. Okay. Or I'm sorry, the season 4 premiere. The season 4 premiere. Okay. So this would be right after the season 3 finale.
All right. Well, one thing I want to address, the only thing the main thing I can really speak to, and the crux of this, aside from kind of Tiki into the ins and outs of the Walking Dead, the whole parody here is called Previously on the Walking Dead. So, of course, instantly previously on does remind me of our running gag with Bates Motel.
Hold on, let me do it. Previously on Bates Motel.
To any of the Just Giggle It fans or Just Giggle It themselves who are wondering, Tiki and I, we did a recap show for one of our favorite shows of all time, Bates Motel. And in that show, Carlton Cuse, he does the Previously on Bates Motel, one of the showrunners. And we have this running gag, basically Tiki, he will always kind of cue us up.
Oh God, you're gonna explain this. You're gonna explain this really, really. This is a deep cut humor right here, Dragon.
All right, okay, the point. Okay, let's streamline it. Yeah, we start off with Tiki just constantly does like a Carlton Cuse impression previously on Bates Motel, and it kind of became a bit where wherever we mentioned the showrunners, like what the showrunners must have been thinking in writing Bates Motel. It's we imagine that in the writers' room, it's Carrie Aaron and Carlton Cuse, who also worked on
Carrie, previously on Bates Motel.
Basically, as if it were an affect of Carlton Cuse that he just got so into, because he does like. To be frank, again, he does that because he loves doing the previously on like the recap voice for all of the shows that he does. He loves doing that, so that's why he.
Dragon, the joke of Lost was that he was the voice, but on the podcast he would always deny that he was the voice.
So just the point is, just the previous one was already is a little bit of charming to us. I think I'm surprised.
Hey, Carrie, previously on Bates Motel. All right.
The point is, like right off the bat with like a previous one, it does feel like after our previous on nostalgia, with saying okay previously on The Walking Dead, just that previously on feels very AMC like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like the opening shots, it's shot very professional. It looks very much like like The Walking Dead. I mean, from the very little I know, it's like man, it looks like an AMC previously on. That's the biggest. There's the biggest props I can kind of give it there. My main issue, which I don't know if it was a strategic choice or not, is either it's just the whole thing does not play like a previously on. And that's
that's the thing. It kind of just becomes a scene. And I have a theory for, like, honestly, my only thing is that I feel like, not to jump ahead, but I feel like the ending of this episode is very abrupt, and maybe that's just meant to be like, all right, and now this is where the episode should start.
Exactly. Now, here's my theory take, if it's intentional. So, again, it's a problem if they're trying to do it previously on, but then they just really want to do a parody. So why the heck call it previously on? Now that's just, on its face. The first watch, it definitely just reads that way, and that's kind of an issue. It's a problem. It's a nitpick, but it's a nitpick in premise, which is kind of a problem. However, if the intention, I'm not saying it fixes everything, but at least it makes a lot more sense. And I think the gag might be that they're doing a previous on, because with that establishing shot, you're doing a previously on shot. And then we start like a previous on. We're like, hey, you guys, go into basically the prison, which we'll get to momentarily. We're into the prison. You imagine, okay, then we're going to see like he's inducting new characters, and then we're going to cut to some other shots, and basically the whole thing gets halted by an ancillary character kind of continuing on the scene, where basically we derail the whole previously on with this character. That's what I think the joke is. I think that's why it's previously on. That's my theory for it.
All right.
Right, so Tiki, lead us through what happens with good old Rick here.
Well, first of all, okay, yeah, let's get into it. So Rick, everyone's favorite police officer.
Well, come on. I'm thinking of a certain police commissioner, but
Fair enough. So he's and here's the thing, Dragon. This is very accurate to what happened at the end of season 3. Basically, Rick recruited a bunch of people who worked with the governor onto his side and welcomed them into the prison. Now, Dragon, what was your first impression when you heard the words "the prison"?
So it's silly. It's just to show you how little I know about The Walking Dead. When I heard when Rick is informing this crowd they can stay at the prison, initially I was thinking because it's like. They call these characters walkers and such, and I was thinking it was like, I honest to goodness, I thought it was like slang. I thought it was like, okay, they're calling we call it the prison. We call our hideout, like our bunker for the walkers and everything, the prison. That's what I thought it was.
Adorable. That's adorable.
Honest to God, just again, as it went on, the contextual clues I determined, okay, it actually is a working. So it actually is a prison. So, Tim, can you elaborate at all what the deal is with this prison?
Okay, yeah, sure. So the prison was overrun by walkers. When they got there, they had to clear all the walkers out. And yeah, by doing so, they took control of it. And Dragon, I gotta say, that was the thing that sold me on reading the comics, was the idea that there was this huge war that was going on between two sides of humans for control of a prison. And that captivated me, the whole idea of what was once a hellhole for people, something that you would avoid going to at all costs, is now a sanctuary. You know what I mean? Is now like something that people are willing to give their lives for and fight for and kill each other for. So that whole idea, Dragon, that whole using the premise, using the prison as a form of sanctuary, that sold me on the whole comic book. That's what made me pick up the comic to begin with.
Oh, so the prison's a big deal.
The prison was a huge deal throughout the first run of The Walking Dead, throughout the first couple arcs. Contextually, in the case of the show, the prison was a huge deal through basically through seasons 3 and 4. Seasons 3 and 4, the prison was a big deal.
You see, folks, my kind of zombie show is something like iZombie or Santa Clarita Diet, where it was much more zombies in suburbia. That's kind of my type of zombie show. Versus,
well, to be fair, you do also indulge in Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting because I don't know why. It's like I keep thinking Deadite more than I think zombie. I think that's what it is. I'm into I'm really into the show. I guess that's kind of. You're right. I mean, that's the others. Like a comedy. It's less apocalypse, more like either comedy. Honestly, a comedy or a mundanity kind of infused zombie show is kind of what I like. Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, less post-apocalyptic type stuff.
All
That's
right.
really not my jam.
So who's playing? Remind me who's playing our Rick, Dragon.
Here's the thing. I think this is because I think later on they upgraded this, Stiggies. In the descriptions for the Just Giggle It videos, they always have the cast members there. However, I think in the early episodes you have to do some guesswork. Where, like in Harley Quinn, Joker versus the Real World, they show they tell you who plays who. So like they have like the character name and the actor name. So there are a lot of names here. I'm sure the top one is the actor in this case, but that name escapes me though because I was trying to pinpoint who everyone was in this. But I mean, I only recognized 2 out of the bunch. So unfortunately, I'm a little light on that information.
Okay, I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, but Rick, I'm just giving props to the actor. He's got a really good Southern drawl going on. He's like, all right, we thwarted the governor and his evil gang, and we're going to build a stronger and a safer community. And then enter Justin Thomas, Dragon. Justin Thomas is George Sanders. And what does Justin have to say?
It's Joshua Thomas.
Oh, wow, wait. Oh, God. Okay, sorry. Joshua Thomas. Jesus.
Anyway.
I have Justin written in my notes. That's like a Freudian slip.
Yeah, that's a big cigar level Freudian slip.
I know. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, Joshua. Wow.
Anyway, but yeah, so he's named George Sanders, which of course brings to mind, for me, I'm thinking 60s, I'm thinking George Sanders, the actor. Is that a Walking Dead reference, George Sanders, or is it just...
No, not at all.
I was just really curious. That was like the only thing I was really wondering about in the connection. Aside from the prison, I was wondering about the George Sanders thing. Because, George Sanders, when I hear George Sanders, my initial thought was, okay, that's my favorite Mr. Freeze from 60s Batman. Not period, just in 60s Batman. The George
and
Sanders.
Also Shere Khan from the Jungle Book.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's another reason, like, oh my god, the best, that was the best actor to play.
I know JustGiggleIt is, they are big Disney fans, so I think George Sanders could be a reference to the Jungle Book.
I'm down for that too. George Sanders was a great actor, he really was.
Oh yeah,
because the reason he was like the coolest Mr. Freeze, he had that civility. Like he had Batman and Robin in the room with the frozen room where he basically gave them like little heat lamps so they could kind of join him for dinner. Like that was the coolest Mr. Freeze in 60s Batman. Plus that's the one they parodied on Gotham with the white freeze suit, the spaceman version. Okay, anyway, so George Sanders, the actor. Anyway. So yes, Josh Thomas, he's portraying George Sanders here. So he's asking basically kind of, I presume I would hope to justify the premise here. He's kind of stopping the recap here. He says, wait, excuse me, Mr. Rick, little question here. He asks if there's a shower here in the prison. So here's where I think the stroke of genius in this whole thing is, and this is the reason I think this whole thing works. I think it was the best clever kind of praise I can give this.
Okay.
We take some mundane comedy, which is always fun. I'm a big advocate of mundane comedy, and I love that it's an observational. It's a great observation for a post-apocalyptic, dirty setting. Where again, even if you know nothing about The Walking Dead, you can just piece it together. Okay, post-apocalyptic, dirty setting. All of our actors are they're covering like dirt and grime, and they've been through heck. And you imagine, okay, yeah, you'd ask about the amenities of the place, especially apparently if it's an actual working prison. You'd imagine, hey, are there showers here that we can that we can use? And I love that not only that, and not specifically them, but the point is that showers that can be used. And I just love that there's enough you can enjoy this if you're not a Walking Dead fan, because that's where the whole crux of this thing is from. It's a bunch of it's a bunch of people kind of like stopping the action to ask this
right
in this serious situation.
And you know enough about The Walking Dead to know, it's a bunch of people like in a post-apocalyptic setting running around. They're always dirty. You know enough about that to put that together.
And what they're doing here is strategically they're using the bare minimum of what you need to know in a parody of something to kind of make it accessible to various audiences. Because Walking Dead is a show you got to know.
There's one deep cut reference that we'll get to, Dragon. Cut reference.
Sure, I think I know what you're talking about there, because again, I'm completely lost on it, folks. But I understand, I get a sense of okay, that's a reference to something. And what I love is that we have just enough. And again, The Walking Dead, they had to know going into The Walking Dead. And again, presumably, if they just went to someone who is a Walking Dead fan, that we need someone who knows what they're doing here. We're just going to come up with something that's either like current or like completely lost in where The Walking Dead is doing, because that's a commitment. That's a watch. You have to watch that sort of show from the beginning to fully get it, I'd imagine, right?
8 seasons in, folks. 8 seasons in. I didn't last that long. Can you?
That's what I'm saying. So again, it was a very smart move that I respect in the construction of this comedy. Where again, it's a very very specific, simple gag that is kind of like in the midst of kind of a recognizable property.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So let's see. Observation humor.
Also, I love Rick's reaction is we have only what we need to survive, which is such a classic, like stereotypical Rick Grimes line, Dragon.
Diving into like the 5 to 8% that I know, like pretty much the only thing in relation to Rick that I know aside from him, like being was he a sheriff or is he
a sheriff? Yeah,
sheriff. Is like you can't protect him, Rick. Mainly because that was my introduction to John Bernthal for going to Daredevil season 2.
Fair enough.
That and Grudge Match. Those are my two interests to John Bernthal going into Daredevil season. He was good. He was good playing De Niro's son in that. By the way, he was excellent in that movie. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Getting back to the.
So George is pointing out. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's been a long day of zombie warfare, but. All right, you know what? I'm just going to say it. You stink.
So what I love here, I love that basically we begin the you stink conversation here, and with the you stink conversation, I love, and again, this is where the comments come from. Even if you have no idea what this is, okay, our sheriff is our leader in whatever show this is, and how it's like this great mundane comedy. It's like very kind of alpha male kind of comedy humor here, where it's. How does a leader take that? Like, what situation are you trained for where you're going to...
Dragon, let's just say, without giving it away, it's very much in character with how Rick would take it.
So, Tiki, let me ask you this. Is he known for being a stinky guy? Is the observation of...
Okay, well, here's the thing, Dragon. Here's the thing. I actually feel like this episode would be... This skit would be better served in the latter half of season 4, which is about a season and a half away, because in season 4 they end up going to another community which was kind of shielded from the zombie apocalypse, and so there literally is kind of like this contrast between like the dirty survivors and this shielded community that hasn't really had to deal with the apocalyptic setting yet. And Rick has this like huge caveman beard at that point. So yeah. Rick has been known to be a dirty, grimy guy.
Well, again, I love how we're playing it here, and just like a leader in a leadership position, just kind of like, how do you what HR meeting prepares you for this conversation? Like what orientation prepares you, like in law enforcement? Okay, so you're gonna have subordinates who are gonna say that you stink. He's gonna be prepared for that. So I think he missed that class. So George is we have only what we need, and George is getting snarky. And I love Alex Poncio. He is a gem in this. Alex Poncio, he steals this whole parody for me.
Oh, he really does. Yeah.
And Poncio, and I love it. He's like, I don't know, they did like this dirty makeup on him too, which makes it accentuates the comedy a little here. So Jordan's getting snarky. He's just kind of commenting. He's commenting to Poncio by his side here, and it's basically saying, I think he says to Poncio, "No boy, be priority if you were sleeping next to him, wouldn't it?" Nah. So the Rick's question again, very directly. I get a sense is what Rick Grimes would do. I'm just getting a sense of that. Your Rick Grimes, he's like, is this going to be a problem?
Yep, pretty much.
Then George very very directly questions the logic on the like.
So you mean to tell me that you have a huge prison and not one stick of deodorant, not even one carved into a shank?
That's what I'm saying. That's when I found it was an actual prison, so I put it together.
Right, of course.
That's to defend my own stupidity there.
Hey, Dragon, we're gonna go to the prison. It's what we call our hideout. I called it the prison because I'm cool and edgy like that.
I'll remind you of Gotham, where we had the Merc, which was not called the Merch. Remember, it was the giant warehouse shopping center that was not simply called the Merch, as in merchandise, but was called the Merc.
All right.
I'll remind you of that.
Fair enough.
Okay. Anyway, so okay, let's see. Oh yes. So again, we're having references to to walkers and
this is where we kind of get into the deep cut kind of stuff. He's like, "All right, look, I've been confronting your asshole communist boss and confronting visions of my dead wife. I don't need this right now." Visions of the dead wife dragon. Really, really wonky season 3 plot. I don't want to get too much into it.
And again, the gist is, even if you don't know any of that, it's basically, okay, this is a guy who's dealt with walkers and a lot of convoluted plot stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then so Dragon, this was my favorite moment for show fans, like long-term show fans. What?
I'm dying to know one thing, and you're going to know this because I have no idea. Okay. So Piper Henson. Who is Piper Henson playing?
Piper Henson has played Rick's son.
I knew it was like one of Rick's kids. I had no idea because Piper Henson's playing. I love it. I'm not arguing about that. Just perfect choice if you gave Piper Henson to play that character. I just didn't know if it was like a boy or a girl or. I had a feeling it was his son, but I didn't know for certain. So that's Rick's son.
Yeah, Dad. The last time we took a shower was the CDC. That was like 10 months ago.
Of course.
Now, Dragon, just to keep this brief, the CDC is a government facility they visited at the end of season 1 that got blowed up. But yeah, when they visited it, they did take showers. And that is pretty accurate. I'm pretty sure that is the last time we actually see them bathe on camera.
Are any other characters in the group from the show, to your recollection, like any other ones, like styled to look like other characters?
Not to my no, not to my recollection. Just Carl and Carl is the name of the son, and then Rick.
Okay, well, I love that along with Carl. I love the rest.
I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm sorry. It's not Carl. It's Coral.
I'm sorry. You're saying Coral or Carl?
Yes, that's the meme. That's the meme. Is that Andrew Lincoln? When he shouts Carl, he sounds like he's saying Coral.
Man, he must really love the beginning of Finding Nemo.
Coral.
Like Marlon's take on Coral.
Anyway,
what I was getting at is
introducing Dragon to the Coral meme for the first time.
Someone get the book and take note of it. I'm so proud.
Speaking of Coral and Finding Nemo, Rick's defense is, "We got bigger fish to fry."
Okay, well, right before, I love the rest of the group I love it. They very instinctually they agree that, yeah, I love it's not in an assaultive way. They're just being very honest. You really do kind of smell bad, Rick. That's what cracks me, is the delivery. It's like the non-offensive. It's a statement of fact. I just love it. We're selling this absurdity, and again, assuming the comedy in those is like, okay, this is a previous one that's getting way off track. It's getting hilarious as the commitment to this bit. So then we have bigger fish to fry. which
A big enough fish to overcome the scent of the smelly old grandpa over here?
Am I right? And of course, the moment he says, "Am I right?" I knew something was going to happen. But
And Dragon, let's just say this is very in character with Rick Grimes. All right,
really,
that's all I'll say is that they captured it. They captured like how trigger happy Rick Grimes is.
does he? Does he like hurt people who backtalk him?
I mean, to a certain extent, he basically is known to kill anyone who gets in his way. Like, you don't fuck with Rick Grimes.
See, okay, look at him and ask you a big question here. I've never asked you before, but in this moment, I have to ask you.
Okay.
Who wins in a fight? Rick Grimes or Alex Romero?
Oh, Alex Romero.
Share off.
Easy Alex Romero.
It's a share off, guys.
I mean, Rick Grimes is good at strategy, but like if it's just a one-on-one fist fight, it's got to be Romero.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Yeah. So, and I love this. And I love we shoot this in kind of a classic AMC style. So I love that again. While we're losing ourselves in the parody here, I love that we're still again. What makes it a good parody is that we're still shooting this again. Like while the comedy-wise, we're getting off base, but apparently we're sticking close into the continuity in certain lines where we can. And again, primarily visually, we are very faithful to The Walking Dead, which again, as I've said before, kind of the Seth MacFarlane kind of parody principle of you get the setting right, so the audience will be with you and they'll believe that okay, this is the real thing minus this hilarious deviation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's shot very faithfully and again and very seriously as we have like an overhead, like almost like a crane shot, like an overhead shot of just point blankly shooting poor Josh McDonough, just shooting George Sanders right almost I think he shoots him in the face. He shoots him boom point blank.
He was starting to turn.
So this cracks me up. I mean, this is the thing. Again, I know nothing about Rick Grimes. This just seems like this is like the something that tempts me. And if The Walking Dead actually had Rick Grimes like this, I think I'd be more interested in watching it. Where you have a sheriff who does these things, or like basically, it's like, what if you had a sheriff who's trying to act like Alex Romero, and he's trying to justify it to himself, like, you guys saw it, right? It was like, what if Alex Romero gave a crap about how people saw him? That's kind of what this game feels. Feels like you guys saw he was turned from the inside.
Honestly, Dragon, you're not wrong with the way you're describing Rick on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the moment, folks. Here's my favorite moment. This is the moment that steals.
Oh God! Oh, this had me cracking up.
If JustGiggleIt had an award show, if they had an award show for themselves, like kind of like the JustGiggleIt award, like the ha-has, whatever they want to call it. If they had like a little award, basically a little, almost like a little digital plaque with this JustGiggleIt written on like a little card or something. I don't know. I'm not trying to make like an award off the spot or anything. The point is, if they had an award of some kind, and they awarded it to like just their contributors, the people have given stand-up performances like best episode or best writing, best whatever. Alex Ponce would get it for performance in this moment for what he does for this parody.
I have the line, Dragon. Can I do the line?
Can you do it justice, man? Can you do it justice?
I think I can.
Go for the ha-ha, Tiki. Go for the ha-ha.
You shooting my best friend was the second worst moment of my life. The first worst moment of my life was when you raised your armpit to hold up the revolver. You've got a problem. You smell. If I'm more concerned about your smell than you killing my best friend, we've got a problem. P.U.
I just
love the period, the punctuation on the P.U. at the end.
I was laughing so hard as he was, because again the commitment is Ponzio giving it essentially an Emmy or a JustGiggleIt award.
Here's the thing, this is what completely sells it. Like, we're completely on these people's side at this point. Like, we get the argument, like, yeah, this Rick guy has a serious problem. Like, you can't argue this.
Let me say this much. Let me say this about Alex Ponzio. I can't say enough nice things about Alex Ponzio because we love him as Howard on Harley Quinn Joke versus the Real World. We love that character. We really love to see where he's going in his character arc. And again, folks, JustGiggleIt's Harley Quinn Joker versus the Real World, episode 5. Watch it so we can see what happens to Howard. Darn it! But all seriousness, though, with Ponzio does here, basically just kind of like owning the comedy, having this commitment and selling the bit and having a performance like this. I mean, I've seen episodes that we'll talk about at some point where Alex Ponzio, he single-handedly, he's the lead in it. And he sells the absurdity. Or basically, again, we do like the absurdity gone dark. And that's kind of what we're doing here. Where, we crank it up to 11 and we go dark on. Ponzio does this like single-handedly. And this shows like he has the chops that kind of that take that in his own with like a moment like this where he just the way he kills it with you is in like a string of like this perfect extended sentence of "you shot my best friend, that was the second worst." Oh, so again, right off the bat, I'm laughing at second worst smoke because I'm dying. Oh, but it was the first one. Raising the arm, and the man he says raising the arm is like, oh, okay, he's going to insult the stench. Which again, I love that you can infer. Okay, we're just compounding the fact that Rick doesn't have a problem with criticism about his stench.
And then I love the idea that, like, I care more about the smell than you shooting my best friend. And I love how he's self-aware about that. He's self-aware, like, there's a serious problem if this is happening.
I mean, again, we've always been praising Just Giggle It for kind of doing the subversion of the comedy. Because, Tiki, I don't know if you were thinking this. I was thinking, okay, we're going to go with the old, he says this, and then he's the next guy who gets shot. Says, he was changed from the inside, too. That's what I was thinking this is going to go. But no, we stuck with it. We committed to it. And he says, hey, basically, he's like a self-help moment of like, no, there's a problem here. There's a real problem here. If you're making us fear for our lives because you have body smell issues.
And like I said, Dragon, this is where we completely get on the other side. We're completely off of Rick's side at this point.
Yeah, because the party is wondering, like, in your darkest parts, you're wondering, yeah, I mean, if that guy was going to be unrelenting about the smell thing, we got to move on past that. It's like for like a greater good. Like in Rick's own minds, they play Rick's lawyer here for a moment.
Oh God!
It's like, well, you see, guys, my client here, he was thinking of the betterment of the mission, which he needed to move these people to that prison as soon ASAP, and he couldn't do that with Mr. Sanders here. And Mr. Sanders was getting antsy, he was getting ornery, and there was been a eyewitness account from this young boy that is either pronounced Carl or Coral. The record is not clear, dictating that his father did see signs of an internal change going on here. So certainly, my client is within his legal rights to shoot this man point blank in the face. I mean, clearly, even these snarky remarks otherwise, I mean, that's conjecture, Your Honor. Anyway, so the point is, so this in PU is like it's like the affirmation at the end of the group therapy session. PU, it's like it's like smelly people's anonymous. So then, tell what I see. I'm completely lost in this last bit here. So again,
honestly, this last bit is just completely like made. There's nothing to do with the show, Dragon. Not even remotely. Like, if anything, people joke about the fact that, hey, the show's just going to end with the government coming in with the cure. I feel like this is kind of a riff on that.
Oh, man, honestly, I'll say out of everything in this, I think again, they're really continuing the gag with this, but at the same time, this feels like, I kind of feels like a situation like we had in that in the One Night Stand, where they up the comedy bar to its limit. And again, this is early on in the sketches, so again, perhaps they grew out of this, and we'll see as we go further. Maybe it's like it was like kind of a learn as they grow thing. But it's like they go to 11, but then there's still time to fill after that, and they've run out of gas, and this feels like, okay, we just got to reaffirm the gag before. Just because we're trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle we have.
I mean, that's the thing. They should have saved that last PU bit for the end. That should have been the end point. That should have been the peak.
Like PU in a much shorter, like just like a moment, like a reaction from Rick or something, and then it would have ended. But now we have our government has been things. Again, it doesn't seem like it's either a really deep cut reference or it's just like
trust me, it's not a deep cut reference, Dragon. I would know. Trust me. I said, if anything, it's a reference to the fan theory, the kind of the joke fan theory that the show is gonna end with a magical cure.
I mean, again, like the only thing I really take away from this is, okay, we have more insulting Rick, and you feel, part of me does feel sympathy for Rick, like, oh, poor self-conscious Rick. Even the hazmat guys are kind of like they're not. I mean, I'll admit that we do have a funny line here. Again, doesn't compare to the Alex Ponce performance we just got, but it's really funny. Where hazmat guys are overcome. We've come to help, and then they're overcome by the smell. And Tiki, do you have the line about what they
Oh
describe?
God, I'm sorry, Dragon. I don't.
I do. So it's
Okay,
like,
good, good.
oh God, it's rotten cheese and feet. At least rotten cheese and meat and feet and babies dying.
Babies died.
Now, again, I don't want to just like I don't want to throw a one night stand on the bus right there. I just want to say this is a far better dying baby joke than that one had. I know that one's again. We already went into our thing with that one. That one's like it's point of, that one's subjective humor, and that's like it's not like directly a dead baby joke, but it's like a really dark joke involving a baby. In this case, this is just like it's so absurd. It's describing a smell. It's like it's such a, and this is like turn up the dial to 11. Again, we do a bit of that dark comedy towards the tail end. At least we have a line to kind of save this, but I think just logically, it's like yeah, we don't really need this, but it's funny.
Dragon, honestly, I think the whole thing is that the government stuff is basically an anticlimax.
Yeah, I guess I think you're right about that. Yeah.
Like as you said, we kind of reached the peak with, with the PU speech, and really everything after that is just kind of like filling up space. I don't know. I just, again, constructive criticism. I feel like this would have been a little bit better served to, just cut out the government stuff, because I feel like it doesn't really add anything to the episode that we haven't already seen.
Yeah, and Natiki explained this to me. This is again a bit. The fact that they ended on this thing specifically is just I was just kind of scratching my head at the whole "we're turning" bit. So what's here's what it, just to entertain Tiki here, the uninformed Walking Dead, the uninformed in the Walking Dead ways here. I presume that for a moment that okay, these hazmat guys, I assume they were part of the show watching this. So my assumption was okay, these hazmat guys.
No, they're not part of the show at all.
I know now. I get it, but at the time I was like, okay, so they're government hazmat guys, and because Rick in this parody, he did mention, okay, the government has allowed us to commandeer this prison. So I'm thinking, okay, so the government has.
Oh no, Dragon, no. He mentioned overcoming the governor.
Oh,
and the governor is the big bad guy before Negan.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was thinking like the hazmat guys, like, okay, is there like a pathogen in the air, and these guys are like potential walkers or something? Like, I'm thinking,
yeah, I mean, when they say we're turning, it's pretty. I think it's pretty clear that they're turning into walkers, right? You get that part.
Yeah, and I have no idea. Like, my again, that it basically this and the smell thing. It's basically where we kind of butt heads on what we're doing here. Like, we're doing parody versus the comedy within the parody, which is really their sweet spots. The comedy within the parody is their sweet spot. What we're doing is we're kind of mixing it to a confusing place. And what the issue is, that's our last moment here, where they say we're turning. That just leaves me with a question. I really don't want to be left with the question. I want to be left with a laugh.
I hear you. I felt the same way. And honestly, my guess is as good as yours in terms of the logical explanation for why they're turning.
Well, yeah, I think the gag is like just my read on it. Yeah, I think it's just what the takeaway is for whatever. Because again, I don't want to overemphasize it has to be like it has to be logical. Everything has to have a reason. I mean, it doesn't have to have a reason. But the thing is, they say we're turning, and I'm just assuming okay, they think they're turning because of the horrible smell when they're not really turning. I think that's the takeaway of the joke.
Or it could be that the smell literally killed them, and then they're turning undead.
I think that's the smarter read on it, Tiki. But I have no context for that.
Exactly. The fact that we kind of have to guess at it is kind of the problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not meaning to like be like, oh, bad, JustGiggleIt, bad.
Joshua Thomas, stand in the corner. Well, he didn't write this. I shouldn't say that. Brian, in the corner, you've let everyone down. No, I'm kidding, Brian. You did top notch.
God, wow. All right. But yeah, Dragon, just final thoughts on my end. As a Walking Dead fan, I honestly think they should redo this, because there's just been so much more material of like stinky, filthy Rick in The Walking Dead since they did this sketch that it would just write itself, Dragon. Like, trust me, the scenarios with stinky Rick would write itself. I think they should do a follow-up to this. I really do. But yeah, I mean, as you said, I think the comedy within the parody is the strong suit. I definitely agree with you that the government stuff is kind of like it's a little bit of a blemish on the overall skit, but overall I'd give the skit probably a solid like 7.5 out of 10.
I'm probably thinking of the Pokemon parody with this, but imagine this, Tiki. Imagine, if you will. You have Rick as the follow-up here. Again, Rick, he's taking this constructive criticism, and he's going on a date. Fine, he's going on it's going to be called Rick's Big Date, or like, Rick.
After all, he has to move forward from his dead wife, am I right?
Yes. So it's like either Rick's, Rick's Big Date, or Rick Comes Clean. One of those two. And
I like Rick Comes Clean.
And we just see like a happy-go-lucky Rick. It's like he's getting ready for like a Rocky bout or something, where he's cleansing, he's deodorizing everything, but the stench is still there while he's on his date. And again, it sounds like a cliche comedy premise, and I'm not going to lie to you, it is. But here's what, again, Just Giggle doing what they do so well. They could take that premise and they could go somewhere really hilarious, far better than my feeble comedy mind could devise, and they could do something far better and far greater with that. So I'm just mad to mention that, Rick Comes Clean.
I'm sold, Dragon. I'm sold.
So I guess for both too, because I think we forgot to do final thoughts on the other one. But again, just to recap, I guess last thoughts here. It's Jackie. It's a very strong dialogue centric comedy, which I really loved. Again, very Adam McKay-esque. I love it. It's a great marriage of writing, performance, staging, and tone. Like, it's a marriage of all those components coming together. It's simply an idea executed flawlessly. And I love everything about Jack. And out of the two we were talking about this week, it's my favorite out of the two. Getting to previously on The Walking Dead. Again, I have kind of an issue in premise with the fact that it's not previous on, but again, I'm going to give them credit here. I'm going to say that it is like they are saying that, okay, it's a previous on, it's previous interruptus, essentially. That I have to assume these guys are smart. But then again, this is early in the career. It's unclear. I'm going to give benefit of the doubt, saying that's the gag. So I'm not going to take like points off for that. But my point is, they went about this in a very smart way. They really did. I really want to applaud them for it. So, like to the uninitiated Walking Dead fans, there's enough here you could enjoy this and just take away like a very absurd, fun premise. It does have some fun, dark turns. And again, it's a simple joke in a convoluted series. And it's a fun approach for a parody to do that. You don't need to know the show at all, which is clever. Again, I think they maybe kind of fumbled on the ending a little bit, but again, it doesn't kill the short at all. It's not my favorite by any stretch. Like this doesn't hold a candle to Pokemon. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's it works for those who are not in The Walking Dead. No, I do feel it works for those not in The Walking Dead. No, and it's definitely
you learned what the prison was.
Tiki, yes, I did learn what prison was.
Well, no, I know you know what prison is, Dragon, but you know what the prison is in the context of The Walking Dead.
Of course, Tiki, the prison. I know about the prison now, and I'm all the better for it. Gosh darn it. No, but yeah, and also, of course, the last thing, of course, Alex Ponce's performance. Just again, if nothing else, Ponce's performance when he kind of steals this parody, or it's oh my god, it's flawless. Just, that performance that's the main reason I will check this one out. So that's the big takeaway I have from previously on The Walking Dead.
Okay, folks, well, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back once again next Tuesday night for another round of Just Giggle It Grab Bag. If you have any suggestions, by all means, leave them in the comments. And until then, have a good one.
All
5 Jackie Mormon brides.